Hey everyone, welcome back to American Government and Politics, Political Science 101. Again, I'm behind on the videos, but I'm going to bring us up to speed and up to the calendar today. The lecture will be short, not too complicated at all, and I'll assign the quiz. Most of you did pretty well on the last quiz, and hopefully you'll do well on this one. It will be another short quiz, but one that requires you to use your brain a little bit and what you've learned in the class so far. So this section of the course, it says in the syllabus, is about what the government can and can't do for you. Maybe we should be asking what government should and shouldn't do for its people. And I say its people as if we belong to the government. Of course, that was the main kind of method of thinking in several of the European countries that gave rise to so many of the thoughts that led to the formation, the thoughts and philosophy that led to the formation of the United States government. What government is supposed to do in theory in a republic, in a representative form of government like the United States, what it's supposed to do in theory is enact the will of the people. I keep saying in theory because it doesn't always work that way in practice, but in theory, this is a representative government. The government is made up of the people. It is government by the consent of the governed, meaning we are indirectly making the decisions about what happens and doesn't happen in this country and in our states and our cities and counties. And if we don't like the direction the government is going, we are empowered to change it through voting or not voting for the people that are already in power. And of course, as a citizen government, we can also be elected to office ourselves, right? In theory, yes. In practice, can just anyone become an elected official? No, not really. Not really. There are age restrictions that are in the law. There are no gender restrictions in the law, but we still have not had a female president. We have had, we've actually had 45 presidents. People say it's 46, but that's incorrect. We've had 45 different presidents. They've all been men. All but one of them have been white. And the one who was not white, of course, President Barack Obama, was half white. So can anybody be president? In theory, anyone over 35 years of age who is a natural born citizen of the United States, but in practice, there are many, many, many women in this country who are more qualified and would frankly be better presidents than several that we've had in my lifetime. But not one of them has been elected president yet. That's a problem. That's a real problem when the law says anyone can be president if you meet these basic requirements. But then in practice, the people who have been our presidents, with one exception, don't look like most of the country. Most of the people in the country. That's a problem. So what can government do for you? It's supposed to be your government. Do you feel like it's your government? Do you feel like your voice is heard in the decision-making processes of the government? Maybe you do, and if you do, that's good. But I'd say most people don't. Most people don't ponder that question I just asked. And if they do, they wouldn't feel like they had the ability to pass a law or to defeat some bad piece of legislation or to unseat a mayor or governor or president just by using their legal right to vote, exercising their right to vote. So, what your government does for you, in theory, is provide public services, provide for national defense, and act as the referees and decision makers when there's a dispute among people living under the same government. Okay, you could argue that our government does those things. Do they do a good and fair and just job of it? That's probably a much more difficult question. And I think that if we took a poll of this class, I think people would have very different opinions on that. Since this is not an interactive class format, I can tell you my thoughts that different branches and levels of government do a varying degree of providing those things. Public services, justice, both criminal and civil. Government's supposed to be able to provide those things. Oh, and national defense. I mean, that's another one. Does the government provide national defense? The federal government? I mean, we have the most expensive military in the world. We have a very large and technologically advanced military. If we were going to get into some kind of traditional warfare with a foreign country, I'd feel pretty good about the chances of the United States military coming out on top. So national defense, okay, you can check that box, but how does the government do it protecting its own people? I'd say not a very good job. I'd say for a country that has so much gross domestic product, meaning a country that generates so much money and revenue per capita, per individual, and per family, there's too many that are hungry. There's too many that are have food but they're underfed. There's too many who don't have safe, appropriate housing, despite the fact that they would like to have those things, and they're working hard to get them. They still don't have them. There's too many people who can't get the level of education that they want and that they can intellectually achieve. They can't get there for a number of barriers, largely financial and practical barriers. I can keep going, but I mean, it's certainly we certainly have very expensive education system that doesn't public education system in this country that doesn't do a great job at educating most people. We have a police force, a local, state, and national law enforcement, some of which do the jobs the best they can, some of which don't do the jobs the best they can. And even if they're doing their job, I'm not sure if the role of law enforcement, in fact, I am sure that the role of law enforcement, as it's traditionally defined and carried out in this country, I don't think that's in the best interest of most of the people. And beginning next week, we'll start talking about constitutional rights, civil rights, and liberties. I mentioned before in one of the previous lectures that the pieces to a quote-unquote great nation may be contained within our Constitution. We just have to use those pieces in the best interest of us, the people. Let me rephrase that. The government needs to use those pieces in the best interest of us, the people. Speaking of the people who live under the jurisdiction of what is theoretically their own government, more bad news coming out of the state of Minnesota in the last few days, where yet another black person was shot and killed. I know that, as you all know, I don't live in Louisville anymore, but I did for years, and Louisville residents are all too familiar with the consequences of bad actors within law enforcement. However, I'm obviously not black, and it's a different perspective for most students at Simmons College and HBCU. Many of my friends and some of my colleagues and coworkers that are people of color. A lot of them are and certainly a lot of students at Simmons and faculty and staff are not just people of color, but black people, people of the popular term now is ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves. I know one of my colleagues and kind of writing partners where I work full time is a black woman who has been advocating that we use a term like descendants of the Middle Passage because the ADOS term omits some descendants of slaves, particularly in South America, the Caribbean regions. So the perspective of someone who was a descendant of slaves, a descendant of the Middle Passage, is and I would say should be different on law enforcement and how government handles its business. It's supposed to be the business of the people. But I think that if you ask the people, all of us living in this country, whether government agents, local government in this case, were doing the business of the people and the will of the people when they murdered Breonna Taylor or George Floyd, I think and I certainly hope that most people would say no. That was my roundabout way of bringing us to the quiz. This is a short quiz, but it is not simple. And though you should draw on information from these lecture videos and your textbook for the quiz, you will not find the answer in your textbook. Again, you should draw on information that you've gotten there, and the textbook is important. But for this quiz, this is about you, how you feel, and what you think about these issues. Please tell me, for 10 points on your final grade, for your third quiz, the last graded assignment until the final, tell me in your words, your own words, why do you believe that police officers in the United States disproportionately harm black people? And what should we as a nation do to stop it? To stop discriminatory treatment of black people by law enforcement officers. And I'll type this, of course, in the assignments part on Canvas, so you'll be able to see it. 'Cause I know I'm using more words than I should use in an assignment, and I'll type it very concisely and clearly. The official assignment on Canvas, but that's the quiz. Why do you believe this type of discriminatory violence by law enforcement against black people continues to happen in this country? And what should we the people of this nation, do to stop it? That's the quiz. Please be creative. Again, use your brain. Use your brain. You may say defund the police. You may say restructure the police. You may think that my premise, you may reject my premise. You may say that, there is no problem with violence against black people. I would strongly disagree if that's your case, but that's your opinion. That's your opinion. The First Amendment says you can have whatever opinion you want as long as it doesn't harm people. We'll talk more about the First Amendment next week, but that's the quiz. I'll type it in the assignments tab on Canvas, and you should get notifications about that. Please be thoughtful and creative with this one. It's a big one. It's an important one. Even if you don't like this class and don't know why Simmons is making you take it, surely we can agree that there is a very important discussion and controversy going on in this country right now about police violence and disproportionate violence towards black people. So, get the quiz to me by next Wednesday. I'll have a lecture video before then. I'm really trying to do these on time, but obviously I missed this one. I missed my own deadline. So, Monday, though, I'll have a next video up about civil rights and liberties, talk about the Constitution, and we'll talk a little bit about the civil rights movement. But The quiz is due to me next Wednesday, and that is, I believe, the 21st. Does that sound right to y'all? Yeah, the 21st. Okay. Well, with that, everyone have a good rest of the week. Have a good weekend. Please stay safe. I hope y'all are getting your COVID vaccines and keeping your family and friends and yourself safe during this ongoing pandemic. I'll talk to y'all soon.